Okay, so let's talk about some of the most common interview questions for remote closers. We're going to jump right into three kind of types of questions that you're probably going to be asked, and a little bit about how to go about them, what they're actually looking to hear from you. Starting off with the general questions that every interviewer is going to ask, and probably what you're assuming they're going to ask about, which is your sales background. They're looking for history. They're looking for proof that you can perform in the role. Can you have proper conversations? Do you have a history, a track record of good close rate? Can you generate revenue for this company? So they're going to ask you the basics of what have you sold? At what price points? What was your close rate? They want to know if you've sold something similar. They want to know if the price point was around the same ticket or bigger ticket than what they're selling actively. And if the price point is within the range, what was your close rate? Was it a good close rate? Was it, outperforming what they're currently seeing? Was it under what they're currently seeing on their team? They want to know all of these things to obviously match and compare and, see if you're a good fit. They want to also know what is your approach to the call with your biggest ticket items. So if your track record is all over the place, I've sold low ticket, I've sold high ticket, they're probably going to try to differentiate and say, okay, what was the most expensive thing you sold? And what is your kind of methodology there? How did you approach that call? Now, if it's your first, official closer role, you've never been on a role before, at least as a high ticket remote closer in this type of industry, info products, that kind of stuff, it's obviously a lot more difficult to answer the question. But what you want to focus on is obviously not your track record, but your confidence in your ability to close the deal. You want to be confident in your ability to close. You want to be confident in the fact that you understand how to handle a call, how to break down your framework. You want to be able to explain that, which we'll get into right after this. And you want to, showcase that you can speak the language of the prospect, depending on what you're selling. And one of the best things that I've seen with people that I've worked with one-on-one, especially, is they usually get a lot more offers if they're confidently welcoming the mock call, right? I had one guy who would land tons and tons of second round, third rounds, and land tons of offers with roles without any closer experience, simply because he would boldly on every interview be like, test me. I'll show you what I can do. Let's do a mock call. Let's do some objection handling. Let me show you that I can close. Let me show you I've got the skill to perform here. Let's do it. Test me. And he was confident about it. And business owners, obviously that confident transferred, that belief transferred. They tested him. They brought him on board. He landed great offers. So you want to let them know, hey, this would be my first official closer role, but what I am confident in is my ability to close, my ability to handle a call and walk them through my sales framework. I know that I can close prospects in XYZ niche because of XYZ reasons, and I'd welcome a mock call if you'd like to test me. Let's jump on, let's do it now. And I can show you how how I'd run a sales call for you. That confidence, that type of direct, bold answer will help you get past, will help you land a lot more offers, even if you don't have sales experience. The second thing they're going to ask you about is your sales methodology, your sales ideology. How do you go about calls? What is your process? What is your framework? You want to make sure that you're very, very clear about how you go about it, but also why you go about certain things. A lot of people, they learn the how, they learn the what to say, but they don't understand why they're asking certain questions, why they probe into the problem before going into goals, why some people's ideology might never go to goals and just focus on the problem. Why do you pitch at a certain time? Why do you ask certain questions? Understand your ideology and why you do what you do. And you want to be able to break it down very concisely and very directly. So before you get on an interview, understand what your framework is. They're probably going to ask you along the lines of that, your objection handling. Most people, what they'll do is along the same line, they'll get a bunch of word tracks and they'll say, okay, if they say I need to think about it, I say this. If they say I need to talk to my spouse, I'll say this. If they say the price is too high, I'll say this. And they have these word tracks, and they get these word tracks from people that they trust in the industry. And that's where the buck stops, right? This is a trainer. He looks accomplished. He says, this is what you say when that objection comes. I'm going to go into role plays. I'm going to practice that word track so that when I face that objection, this is what I say. And away we go. That's as far as it goes. The only problem is you don't know why you're saying it and you don't know the actual steps. You just know the word track, right? So what they're going to be asking sometimes, obviously in a role play setting, they might want you to actually perform the objection handling with them when you're, doing a mock call, but you might also be asked to break down the objection handling. Instead of saying, I say this, then I say this, then I say this, it'll say step 1, this is what we're trying to achieve. Step 1, I'm going to paste the objection. Step 1, I'm going to, if it's a price objection, step 1, I'm going to put price aside. And then I'm going to see if the service is something they actually believe in. Because if they don't believe in the service, it doesn't make sense to talk about price, because I'm always going to run into a wall anyways. Even if we handle price, they still don't necessarily believe that this is the service they need to achieve their goal. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to put price aside and make sure that the service is something that is a good fit for them. If you can't break down the step-by-step logic of why you handle objections in the way you handle objections, then you're probably going to struggle to answer that question. But if they ask you, hey, how do you go about handling this objection? That's probably what they're looking for, is more of the methodology, not the word track. So again, make sure you understand the methodology. Then they'll probably ask you some mindset questions, right? How do you recover when you're behind on on projections, right? Mindset is like 90% of your sales performance. If you don't have a good attitude, you won't show up convicted. You won't show up confident, and people will sense that on you. They won't trust you. They won't buy from you. So you need to have good ways of keeping your mindset high. You might be asked questions about how you handle stress. You might be asked questions about how you handle pressure. They're not looking for the person that just says, oh, I just don't get stressed, or I just don't deal with it. They want someone who's very clear on how they actually go about recharging and recovering and ensuring that they don't dip too low so that their performance stays high consistently. Consistent sales reps are better than flash in the pan, go stop sales reps. So they're looking for, your ability to understand where your limits are and how you actually recover. And then when it comes to the question I said before, which was how do you kind of, get your numbers up? How do you recover when you're behind on projections? They're looking for a resourceful rep, a rep that is focused on being a generator, not someone that waits around. So although a lot of these roles might have inbound leads, calls booked on the calendar, they're going to say, okay, yes, we want that, but just the nature of marketing, markets go up, they go down, they shift, ad spend goes up, goes down, cost per lead goes up, goes down. These things fluctuate. So what do you do throughout those fluctuations? Do you have a process for how you work pipeline to pull extra deals when you're behind on the month to still hit projections? Do you have a process where you can set and close your own deals? What do you do to be resourceful when you're behind and not on track to hitting your goals? That way we can still hit them even in downturn moments when it comes to marketing and other systems that your revenue, your commission is tied to. Right. So they're going to want to make sure that you're a producer, that you're someone who has a plan in those cases, and just the self-awareness questions of what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Again, they're not looking for someone who's just going to be like, I don't have any weaknesses. Right. Or I'm good at everything. Right. They want, especially the strengths part, cool. You can talk about your strengths. Everyone's usually good at that. But what I've seen a lot when I've interviewed reps and I've, asked them, hey, what are your biggest weaknesses? What are the things you might need help with? And what are the things you might want to work on? Don't fall for the age old, take a strength and reframe it as a weakness. Don't do that. Everyone knows what you're doing, right? People aren't stupid. And another really bad answer I've gotten from reps has been either that or them just being like, that's a good question. I don't really know. You don't know, which means you've never thought about it. You're not prepared. You don't actually know where you lack. Therefore, you're probably not someone who can grow or is growing. Right. So they want to see that you're someone who is self-aware enough to know what their weaknesses are, but then also showcases that you actively put things in place to improve at that thing. So the way you want to answer a what is your weakness type question is, hey, this is an area where I struggle a bit. These are the things I've tried to implement to improve on that. This has been the results since I've started implementing it. And these are some of the things I'm going to do to continue to improve there and get better. I would love, being on the team, I'd love to hear ideas from you guys. I'd love your support in that. If you showcase and you break it down like that, you show that you're honest. You're not trying to hide anything, but at the same time, you do have some real weaknesses, but at the same time, you're someone who's aware enough to know what they are. You are someone who's proactive enough and resourceful enough to find ways to fix it and are actively working on it. You've been successful enough to see some positive results towards it, and you're looking to iterate on the next set of implementation in order to continue to grow in that area. That's a great way to answer what are your weaknesses, to have that formula there. Where I've seen some people go wrong with answering the question is they might say, hey, this is my weakness and this is what I did to fix it. And then they leave it there. And it's like, well, and then they might even say, and I don't struggle with that anymore. This is what I did to fix in the past. Then you kind of defeat the whole purpose. So it's like, well, you just told me it's not a weakness anymore. So why are you saying that? Right? You can't say this is my weakness. This is what I did to solve the weakness. And this is how I am now. So you didn't answer the question. So then what is your weakness then? Because that's no longer a weakness. So why use that one? Right? So I've seen people kind of try to answer it that way or get confused and think that's how they should answer it when they hear me talk about this framework. No, it's not like that. It's say the weakness, say the things that you've tried to implement to improve it. Talk about the minor improvements, like maybe you got 10% better or 20% better at it. And then talk about, hey, either it's a work in progress or this is the next thing I'm doing to continue to grow in that area, or this is what how I'd like to grow in that area or something. It should be something that's a work in progress. Last thing I'll say is a question they might ask is about your influences. That could be people you've learned from, your methodology. That could be people that you've worked under. They're trying to see your coachability. They want to know, are there any trainers that you learned from to shape your ideology that are in alignment with the way we like to see people sell? Like, hey, we're big fans of this trainer or that trainer. We like the way this person sells or that person sells. So when a sales rep says they learned from that similar trainer, that gives them some brownie points. Or they're looking to see, hey, when you got feedback from your sales manager, from a founder you worked under, from some kind of leader, how did you go about implementing that feedback and what were the results, right? You should be prepared to have stories that showcase not only traits that you want to showcase, but also moments of growth and coachability that you want to showcase. Yeah, hey, I had a time where a trainer or, my sales manager told me this, and this said, this is what I need to do within this time frame. Right away, I went out and this is what the changes I made. And this is the results it had for me. Show your coachability. Same thing for people that want to say that they're hardworking. What story do you have that showcases that? Same thing that, like any trait you want to showcase it through a story, because stories sell at the end of the day. They make people believe it. There's lots of different questions you might run into. These are some questions that are really focused on closers. I'm going to do another video specifically for appointment setters. I was just going to make this one video, but it would be super, super long. So this one is mainly some of the main questions you're going to run into as a closer. Stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you're looking for the appointment setter one, that one will be up soon as well. So stay tuned on the channel. If you're looking for more sales advice, we've got tons of videos on this channel, as well as in our remote sales community. Link is in the description. Hopefully that helps. Go out and crush your interviews. I'll see you in the next one.